Hey guys, gonna do a quick video on discussion what's coming up quite recently in the community, which is basically the Rosarius shield on crit enchant on your armor. We can have a look at it here. It's basically each critical hit has a 20% chance to create a Rosarius force field on hit. So basically, each time you deal a crit, there's a 20% chance you're going to be invulnerable for a couple of seconds. I think it's about 4 seconds now. Previously, before the patch, we did have a 20% chance on being hit to create this shield, which was really unbalanced, the amount of hits you get per second. It had no internal cooldown, whatever. So this is kind of the next best thing, which everyone's taken advantage of. And the main reason for this is you can achieve invulnerability for a temporary time. A lot of the community are seeming to think it's permanent. It's not permanent, and I'm going to quickly explain why and show you that it's a synergy with, I would say, a broken mechanic, as to say that, but isn't actually this enchant. So take a quick look at my character sheet, keeping in mind this character is not optimized at all. It's just the best gear I've got so far. I haven't like re-rolled or tried to get better stats, and I've got 23% crit chance, and also on my sword has a base 10% crit chance, so I've got 33% crit chance. So I've got 33% crit chance with then 20% of those crits to make me invincible for a short period of time. Doesn't sound very strong at all, does it? But what makes it so strong is digital weapons, which basically gives you 30% crit chance for 30 seconds. You think, fair enough, it's got a 35-second cooldown, it has a 1-round use, and you have about 3 to 4 supply charges, 4 supply charges, depending on if you have extra supply charges on your Warzone perks or in your skills. But I have 4 base, right? So you think, right, I've got 1 use gives me 30% crit. I'm at already around 30%, so I've got 60% crit. Not 100% crit, so it's not going to be a guaranteed uptime. So it's not really much to do with attack speed, but more cooldowns. So we have all successful deflects reduce cooldowns by 5%, dealing crits reduce cooldowns by 10%, and then we just have general cooldown reduction perks. What the problem is digital weapons, the cooldown of the crit buff is affected by the cooldowns. So you can actually stack these to have multiple instances buffs of the 30%. You can actually achieve 90% crit with this buff of having 4 of them stacked. Well, 3, but you can stack 4, as I can show you in a bit with a screenshot. But you can stack it 4 times, not a problem. But oh, I've run out of charges. But if you look at the Innoculator, you have medium and elite kills have a 15% chance to drop a supply pack. Yes, it's 15% chance, but in a war zone or in Unholy Cathedral, there are plenty of medium and elite enemies to kill. So they also drop 2 supply packs at a time. So that sustains the use cost of basically the ammo round, as it's called in game, of the digital weapons. So you have enough supply, because it's regenerated by enemy kills, to have this up 2 procs, because each enemy drops 2, so you can afford to put it up 2 at a time, which gives you 60% crit. And because I've got base 20% with the 10% from the sword, that's 30%. So I'm constantly able to achieve 90% crit chance. This cannot be done alone with this enchant. It needs to be an entire synergy of digital weapons, Innoculator buff, and cooldown on your skills. If you took a axe or a thunderhammer into the exact same situation without digital weapons, you wouldn't have a high enough crit chance to be invulnerable. Even though you can achieve the 90% crit chance and keep this shield up, it's not permanent. These do still have a 30-second duration. Yes, up to a certain degree, you can basically think and play as, this is God mode, I can do lol, roll the floor, not care about damage taken, but as I can show you in some gameplay, I was playing with another player who has done solo Warzone 300, I believe, and he runs this same kind of setup, digital weapons, Rosarius on crit, medium and elite supply drops, and he still dies, because in between the downtime of the shield, he takes enough damage where his self-healing and his killing blow heals amount equal to the damage dealt. He's not able to get killing blows because our damage is reduced by about 95%, so it does balance out eventually. I'm not saying it's unbalanced because it's a ridiculous synergy. Like, my opinion on the whole matter is digital weapons needs to not be affected by cooldowns. Like, it should still have a legit 35-second cooldown, and that would stop it from stacking and would make you have to basically build an entire synergy around the armor and using the sword. So that would be fine, but you wouldn't be able to stack it to get this kind of survivability without investing a lot into crit and making the build work, which I kind of think's decent because other builds have heals. I mean, we can take a look at a Psyker or a Assassin. They have a time stop aura. I mean, they're pretty much invincible while they're inside this aura, which has the exact same things. It's affected by cooldown. It's affected by critical hits, reducing cooldown. I don't think I have it in this. So Assassins and Psykers, Beam Psykers especially, are able to put down a time stop aura, take 0 damage apart from heat. I believe heat and las cannons and certain things do get through it. It only stops projectile based attacks, but it's about on the same level, isn't it, really? There is a point where you can take damage, but if you play well enough and the player has high skill, then they're going to know when to place it, where to position themselves, and going to make the best of it. I don't agree with players who just look at this and see, like, I remember a video was linked of a Crusader with plasma pistols doing like 170, and the first comment was, lol, using Rosarius crit shield, OP, nerf, break, broken. And I think that's really unfair because there is sections of this guy's video where he's legit kiting enemies because he's just not had good enough RNG and had the supply boxes drop from the medium and elite kills. So it's not like you just equip this chest piece and lol, roll the floor, easy mode, 500 Warzone completed because you're invincible. There is a legit player skill orientated around it, even though I still stand by the digital weapons being broken, like the whole stacking and cooldown reduction, and that goes for anything basically. If you didn't have this enchant where you get the Rosarius shield, you would just unequip the digital weapons, equip the Rosarius force field, and you would just have a constant supply of immunity anyways from using a Rosarius force field from your belt, coming from the supply drops from here, and it all being reduced by cooldown. You'd basically just time having the supplies, jump in, proc the shield, do enough crits, cooldown reset, proc it again, and it's more controlled over having this. Just the main setup right now with digital weapons is just for that pure crit extra damage, basically. Like, why run Rosarius shield when you can get it from doing decent damage as well? So I just think the people that don't understand how this synergy is working between these 3 items is just looking at this and thinking it's OP, and I just hope this video kind of explains what's going on. I'm going to put a bit of gameplay, you can see what's happening. I'll be playing a Psyker, Invictus is going to be playing the Crusader, and there's several situations where he will actually have to run away from combat because he doesn't have any digital weapons available to use, and I don't know if I've got footage of it, but there was several times he died, I don't use time stop, and he just doesn't have any digital weapons available, so his crit chance is low, it cannot have a high uptime, so he dies. So it's working as intended, just the players have kind of found a mechanic that synergies and makes it really, really strong, which I think is unintended, to be honest. Like, I wouldn't class a belt like item as a skill. It shouldn't be reduced by cooldown. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought on this. This is basically my opinion on it. I mean, other people have got opinions where they just completely want it removed, and some people are using it and just using it because it's in game, like making the best out of what they've got. Clever use of mechanics is basically the legit way of calling it. It's just, is it too OP that you would refuse to use it, or is it because you're not playing a Crusader, or are you just generally not interested by the gameplay? Would you rather use something else? It was the same with deflector shields. People could stack those and the enemies would just do an insane amount of damage back to themselves, and you would have a huge HP shield basically. So let me know what you think. If you think this is worth keeping, or does it need readjusted, does it need reworked, does it need removed? Let me know in the comments. Like, share, get everyone's opinions. The more opinions we get, the better feedback we can give back to Neocore, and they can do something about it. There was an immense feedback about the 20% on hit. That got reduced to 2%. Do you think this needs to be reduced to 2%, 10% maybe? Or maybe he's add an internal cooldown, but I still think even with that, the main problem is the crit stacking. And I say this from playing as a Crusader, as playing as a Psyker. So I'm just generally interested on the game balance and what you guys think about making builds. Because right now, it basically seems to be you need to be a melee or some sort of crit-based Rosarius enchant chest with digital weapons, or you are a time-stop Psyker or a time-stop assassin for solo. Not group play. Group play is a different story. We'll get into that next time. But yeah, let me know what you're thinking. Drop a comment, drop a like, subscribe, share. Let's get everybody's opinion on this as much as we can and get the info back to Neocore so that they can see what's going on and what everybody thinks. Thanks very much. Method out.